And then,
oh gosh,
John Krasinski said,
it's a story perfectly suited to the audio medium.
meat.
No,
No?
no.
Yes. Welcome everyone to the Meat Podcast. A podcast all about different types of meat.
No, we're not the Beef and Dairy Network.
We're not the Beef and Dairy Network. We're the Meat and Merriment Network.
Meat and Merriment.
We're Meat and Mead. We are gonna.
This room contains neither meat nor mead. I'd just like to point that out. So Christopher is falsely advertising.
But
it.
Merriment. We have Merriment. We should do that. We should start a new podcast called Meat, Mead and Merriment.
We'll get people to listen to this one first.
No, look, the three people that listen to this week in, week out, present company included,
yeah.
alright, they can enjoy it all they want, but we should branch out. We should go out now and just basically start a podcast where we eat burgers, drink alcohol, and talk whilst we're doing it.
Jesus Christ, Chris, you're trying to get me into an early grave.
Yeah, but what an early grave it would be.
Too fucking
It'd
early!
be really wide. We
Right.
could share top and tail.
What are we doing?
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Meat, Mead and Merriment.
It's not called that!
My name is Chris Lahargill Johnson.
I am Arrow Odd, son of Grim Hairy Cheeks.
Wow. See, now we have to die, because I want that on an epitaph.
Real Nordic legend. Check it out.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you know what else is a real Nordic legend?
Me.
Yes.
Hey!
This week, we've got a few topics we're talking about. We have both now seen A Quiet Place. Oh, mince.
Yep.
What do we think about it? You'll find out in a bizwiz.
But we're going to do the review entirely in sign.
Yeah.
So...
And subtitles. So turn the subtitles on iTunes only.
Yeah.
And then we're also going to be answering an email of seismic proportions.
Seismic.
But first,
Seismic.
hey Matt,
Yes.
change the channel.
Now, Channel Awesome's been
No, I mean
imploding.
seriously, change the channel.
No, we're not watching anything.
Oh.
You've just been staring at the snowstorms.
static this whole time.
Like, there isn't static on TVs anymore. That doesn't work. Did they do that in the remake of Poltergeist?
Yes. Yeah,
But
on the
it
flat
doesn't.
screen.
But TV doesn't work.
Well,
like
it
that
wouldn't,
anymore.
to be fair, it wouldn't be as anywhere near as spooky or dramatic if it was just a blank screen with a blue square that occasionally disappeared and moved that said no
but
signal.
It doesn't work. The static doesn't work anymore.
I think that was why they did it in the remake, so it could be freaky, because it's like, wait, that sort of TV wouldn't do that. What's going on?
Yeah, but they know that.
You know, if someone somewhere hasn't like started up a cable channel that is just white noise, I'd be very surprised. But yeah, speaking of white people, Channel Awesome, Channel Awesome has imploded. For those who don't know, Channel Awesome is a content aggregate website that began life in 2008 as thatguywiththeglasses.com, and then about 5 years ago became channelawesome.com, because that just became the name of like the production company that worked out of Chicago that made the majority of the site's original content, including the Nostalgia Critic, which is how most people found the website. Because back in the day, when YouTube was only a few years old, it wasn't that profitable. People couldn't really make money off of it unless they were companies, and people weren't making anything particularly special. It was just re-uploads of music videos home video diaries.
It being the home of the Nostalgia Critic is why I'm not particularly aware of Channel Awesome, because I can't fucking stand the Nostalgia Critic.
Well, there you go. But a lot of people did enjoy it, and it was because back around that time, no one was really making anything
like that,
with any hard work. Yeah, like any hard work behind it. And then again, you look back at older Nostalgia Critic stuff, and people around that era who started to appear, like the Angry Video Game Nerd, who was really stuck around and developed more over time.
Nat King.
Not my thing. I appreciate what he does and his workload, I appreciate the shows he does. But I just find him to be really monotone.
Yeah.
Like everything he's saying is at the same kind of level. It's almost like everything he's doing is done because it's blah, 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 blah. I'm just like, okay, I'm glad people enjoy this James Rolfe, but I am not one of them.
Is it better or worse than Emergency Awesome?
What's Emergency? Oh my god, I haven't thought that in a while. Hey guys, Charlie here. Today we're gonna look at this Suicide Squad teaser image and determine how I know that Aquaman will be appearing in the movie as well as in the latest season of Stargate Atlantis. Oh my god, just... Is he still a thing? He's got to still be a thing,
I don't
right?
know.
He was raking in the dough.
I do not care.
He was making mad wedge. But that was
care.
but that was the thing. That like there are people who make lots of money and time and whatnot on the tinterwebs with almost zero charisma. And like him or lump him, the Nostalgia Critic back in the day was definitely making content that was character driven. Like the Nostalgia Critic is a character. He was once described, I think, by Doug Walker, the guy who plays him, as basically if Daffy Duck were a human being and even more obnoxious. And you can kind of see that in some of the characters' mannerisms. Like, it's, you know, when Daffy Duck sort of flaps out, basically, pun intended.
I don't want to know about Daffy Duck's flaps.
Dirty little bastard! That's not his lipstick. That's a dog! That's a dog! It's a sign! Dan! So, yeah. Like, the Nostalgia Critic came around in that time where people weren't really putting the effort in, and as such, people started to really pay attention. It was ticking boxes. It was movie reviews about films that people loved, and all that sort of stuff, you know what I mean? Like, oh my god, I haven't thought about frickin' Animaniacs in 12 years, I'll watch this video about Animaniacs, and stuff like that. And it worked, and it was a character, and occasionally there were little skit elements towards it. So, back then, Doug Walker, Rob Walker, his brother, who works on the show, like writing for it and managing parts of the site, and a few others whose names have been gone and come to pass and become known and not, started to turn that guy with the glasses into a business where they would aggregate fellow content creators who were starting to pop up, people who were essentially inspired by or trying to be the Nostalgia Critic. Some almost straight up, yeah.
Some just actually being a straight up distaff counterpart of
which was auditioned,
yeah,
in one case, yeah.
So,
but like they, you know, that was how they started out, and a lot of them obviously then developed their styles and became very much their own entities and have massive fan bases even to this day. And a lot of others did it for a while and were like, "This is not for us, really," and then stopped. But the way it worked as a business was they created the website. That guy with the glasses. The website ran ads. People were coming to the website because, again, like nowadays, you want to watch something, we all automatically go to YouTube and type in some keywords.
Yeah.
2008, 2009, people weren't doing that necessarily. Like, because there wasn't as much on YouTube to peruse aside from some viral stuff and things like music videos and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was still developing. Let's Plays were in their infancy. It was, you know, it was a different time!
It was a different time.
So if you went to thatguywiththeglasses.com, you could watch that Nostalgia Critic show you really liked. And you could check out some of the other shows by the same guy and his team, like Bum Reviews and Ask That Guy and shows like this, like 5-second movies, like they were all here. But also, look, here's someone else. Here's Linkara, who makes a comic review show called Atop the Fourth Wall. Mm-hmm. And here's Brad Jones, the cinema snob. And here's the rap critic. And, you know, like, over time it all developed. Here's the Spoony one. All these different people started to appear on there, like Obscurus Looper and Phelan and
Todd in the Shadows.
Todd in the Shadows is another one. And Diamanda Hagen. And over the years, other content creators have joined. And, of course, the more you go to that site to use that as your way to find these people you enjoyed watching, the more you had ads on your screen.
Yeah.
So, like, what would then become Channel Awesome, the team in Chicago, that's how they made their money. And for the producers, they got more exposure. Because people who were coming to the site to watch the Nostalgia Critic would suddenly find these new shows.
I think they did get some money as well from it.
Not from Channel Awesome or that guy with the glasses. They based on what format and platform they used, they were able to monetize their content.
Okay.
Now, because YouTube wasn't big monetizing in the late 2000s, early 2010s, Blip.tv was. They'd really worked out. Plus, also, Blip.tv didn't attack you for copyrighted clips. They were very big on fair use. So, unlike YouTube and its algorithm nowadays.
Yeah.
Blip.tv would let people post stuff, so of course then these guys would start earning money from their videos. Channel Awesome never asked for any money from their videos, and likewise they never like pushed for like, oh, can we have more exposure, this, that, or the other. Like sometimes they'd be like, I've not been on the front page for a while, could you maybe change things up? And there'd be discussions. And it's just a healthy working relationship. It was basically not to like take a dump on the creators that weren't the Chicago team, but it was like, it was a whale and like, you know, pilot fish. You know, it was that thing of, here's the main body, and you can find these guys by coming to the main thing.
Did the pilot fish order with Santa Clauses and attack you with brass instruments?
Yes. Now, they started to do anniversary movies. Like, every year there'd be a big film of some kind.
The little I've seen of these, they look fucking terrible.
Now, I started getting into Channel Awesome stuff around like 2010, 2011, so I had a couple of them to go back and watch. And for me at that point, I kind of enjoyed them because I was like, oh wow, I get to watch these people like interact with each other. Like they're actually all in the same content. But they weren't very well written, and a big part of that was, as has sort of come to light, and people noticed at the time, but it's become a bit more obvious now, their comedic voice was obviously based on the script for the film, and the script for the film was co-written by, but like mostly written by Doug Walker, who's the nostalgia critic, who fancies himself a comedy writer. Now, he can definitely write stuff that is funny. The older nostalgia critics can be very funny because it's a man's reaction to stuff that's going on, humorously worded, sometimes over the top in terms of the reaction, sometimes more subtle and, just like more eloquently put based on what the joke was, blah, blah, blah. But when he was suddenly tasked with writing about 40 characters, they all sounded the same.
Funny that.
Yeah, like one of the weird, and also it's almost like he wasn't paying attention to their content themselves. Like Film Brain, Matthew Buck is one of the contributors to Channel Awesome over the years, who I used to absolutely not be able to stand simply just because of his delivery. But then he got more casual and less performancey, and now he's a lot more like enjoyable to watch because it's like, and you're just being yourself now. This is much better than the character you were putting on.
Yay!
But in his videos, he was very much like he's a big film reviewer and he reviews movies. In the crossover films, for some reason, he was always like a creepy little Klingon or a kiss ass to the critic. In a way where it was like, this, I mean, you're nothing like this in your videos, so why are you like that in these movies? Why are you a dumbass kiss ass? Like, what's the... I don't get it. Now, the reason why we're even talking about any of this shit is because in 2015, a few creators got into arguments with specifically the company's CEO. At this point, they're Channel Awesome, and the company's CEO is a man called Mike Michaud. Or Michaud. We're just going to call him Chode. Mike Michaud co-owns
Not your
Channel
Chode.
Awesome. He's the CEO of Channel Awesome, and he co-runs the company with Rob and Doug Walker. There was another man called Mike Ellis involved at one point, who's long since gone. Yeah. In 2015, oh my god, in 2015, a few of the members left the site due to disagreements, and they decided to bugger off and leave on their own. A lot of it was to do with, like, there'd been a gaming website that they were going to put out as a spin-off of Channel Awesome's website that called Blistered Thumbs, which existed briefly and then disappeared, and none of the people who were making content or were supposed to be making content for it were told why or when or what was going on. There were people who felt they'd been treated unfairly and ignored, particularly female members of the producer teams.
Oh, why?
And basically a bunch of them left. Some of them still made content with Channel Awesome, but a lot of them moved over completely to a site called Sharepocalypse. So these included Lindsay Ellis, who'd formerly been the Nostalgia Critic and was now Nostalgia Chick, yeah, and was now Lindsay Ellis.
I'm much better for it, I find.
Yeah. People like Browse Held High, Kyle Calgren, and other members moved to that website.
I feel there's generally a pattern that as people have come out of the Channel Awesome umbrella, their content has vastly improved.
Yeah, or they blossomed.
Yeah.
Around that time, they also then opened up the floodgates a bit more to new content creators. So people like Il Nage and Some Joke with a Camera and Blockbuster Buster and all these new people joined the site. Even names who didn't necessarily need the site by this point because they were already big elsewhere became part of the collective, like Chris Stuckman, Angry Joe. Angry Joe had been there since the beginning, but like Angry Joe shows far outgrown anything really that website's ever done, but he has always remained someone whose content goes onto the website.
Yeah.
So, it's like they still had a strong stable of talent, but there was obviously this, why have people left? Add to that, Noah Antweiler, the spoony one, got into some hot water when he made really fucking inappropriate comments to some of the other members on Twitter.
Yeah.
In a way that was just a joke, but in that defense where you're like, yeah, it doesn't mean it's not horrible what you said.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
it's
so
just a joke.
Coupled with some genuine issues he seems to be having out in real life and whatnot, he basically was booted from the site. Off he went. Another member of the site around that time was booted from the site for reasons that wasn't really delved into originally, but we'll talk more about that later. And that was a contributor called Jew Wario, who killed himself not long after, due to, from what we heard, a battle with depression got the better of him, and I believe he shot himself. So the site, the main Channel Awesome team in Chicago, put out a memorial video a few weeks later, obviously, like, to let people know what had happened and pay tribute to him with some contributions from other members of the site. But there was a weird thing around the time where people were going, we wanted to do our own, but Channel Awesome said, no, we'll put that out. We'll put out a tribute. If you want to send some stuff for it, you can. Mm-hmm. So people who were friends of his felt a bit like, oh, this is weird. Like, okay, fair enough. But that was also weird. And around this time, Obscurus Lupa, Alison Pregler, who does stuff about like terrible movies and Baywatch and things like that, like Knight Rider binge-a-thons and stuff like that.
Why not?
She's wonderful. She and Phelan, Phelis are, I believe if they're not currently, they were a couple. I think they might still be. Phelan's the one who's done a lot of Ghostbusters content. Like that online. Yeah,
I'm not a huge fan.
No. With him, I sort of have to pick which ones I want to watch.
Yeah, it's delivery. It's too manic.
Which is weird because when you see him outside of that, again, like Matthew Buck, you're like, I would rather just hear you talking normally.
Yeah.
That's
a stick, I guess.
But instead he does their weird thing where he starts doing all that and you're like, please stop. But anyway, each their own. People love his content. Great.
It's his thing.
Lupa was bringing up problems she had with the main site's management. She was like, look, this has happened. I'm not happy about it. And they would never respond. Mike McChode, especially, would barely ever get in touch or get back in touch. So she gets them on Skype at one point and gets, I believe it was him and Doug, into a separate Skype conversation. Be like, right, I want to discuss what's going on here. Mike said, right, okay, we're here to talk. She didn't reply for 15 minutes because she was away from her computer. She comes back to find
AFK, bro.
Yeah, she comes back to find that in the 15 minutes between his first message and his second message, the second message he says, well, if you're going to ignore us now that we actually are here to talk to you, then I'm firing you effective immediately from the site. And he removed all of her content before, like, she checks the site and it's already gone. So she sends a thing basically saying, like, I'm glad 15 minutes is the amount of time it takes you to make a decision as big as that. Thanks very much. Like, just because I was away from my computer. So she was quite public about it. Now, around this time, it was to do with various stuff. Like, one of them was creators wanted to put more mid-roll ads on their videos because they were losing money because the sites were no longer making them as much money.
I feel like YouTube makes you do that now anyway.
Yeah.
Because I watch a fair few videos from channels where the mid-roll ads just appear in the middle of people's sentences.
Oh yeah, it's annoying. We had it
horrendous.
for a while with when we were monetized. We're monetized again now, by the way, but not properly. We're waiting for the process to finish requalifying. But we've had enough views and subscribers to qualify in the time. So thanks very much, everyone.
Now you have to worry about copyright again.
Oh, God. Well, but only if we monetize.
All those 16 copyright strikes on the Burnout Paradise video.
Oh, Jesus. But yeah, no, I got the message the other day on the YouTube page, and it said it's like a month's thing while it figures it out, and then we'll know. Oh, great. Okay. But I remember monetizing, back when we were monetizing all the time, some of the Big Dank Casts, and I tried to pinpoint a moment between topics to put a couple mid-roll ads. And even though I did, it would still sometimes, the ad would pop up in the middle of the previous sentence, even though I pinpointed the timer. And it was like, God, that's annoying.
It's fucking terrible.
Do you know whose videos I really hate on? Mr. Sunday Movies.
Yeah.
Just a 10-minute video and there's like 2 mid-rolls. Now, I appreciate
really
it.
Some Comic Box videos as well.
Yes. Now, I appreciate it because this is how they make their money and I completely get it. I completely appreciate it. I'm never going to complain about the person individually, but it is annoying that they have to do that. People at Channel Awesome are having to do that to make more cash. Mike Michaud got in touch with a bunch of them and said, like, get rid of the mid-rolls. It's putting people off staying on the page because they're getting bored of all these adverts and they're just leaving the site. So they're not spending as much time on your page, which is not giving us as much ad revenue from our ads. So people like Alison Pregler tried to start up Patreon. And then they were told they weren't allowed to advertise Patreon in their videos or link Patreon underneath for reasons not really explained.
Yeah.
But then, eventually they were allowed to put a sting about Patreon at the end of their videos. So at the end of the videos, they could put a little part of the video that explains they've got a Patreon. And this is what the link is. Type it in your browser, and if you want support, it's great.
Type it in your browser and give us some cash.
Give us your money! But that's why, like, Arson left. So that was a big thing. A few months ago, about a month and a half ago now, someone commented to Alison about something or other. And she replied quite candidly, like explaining some shit that had happened when she was working with Doug Walker in regards to being treated like shit.
Mm-hmm.
And the floodgates opened. Various ex-producers of Channel Awesome started to be a bit more candid. Right down to the point of putting together a document called Not So Awesome.
I think 70 pages?
70 pages with contents. There's a contents page for this thing.
Oh.
And that was released 2 weeks ago. We'll link it in the description on YouTube if you would like to give it a read. But essentially, that tweet snowballed into a bunch of creators going, do you know what? Yeah, this has been a big problem for me. I think I'm going to get out of there. Yeah, me too.
And then ones who already had turning around and saying, yeah, well,
Yeah.
now we're going to share our stories that we haven't, if we haven't already.
One of the bigger ones is that Channel Awesome's former HR worker, so one of the few people that worked in Chicago that was paid by them and employed properly, lady called Holly Brown, has explained her side of the story, talking about how she was let go just after she'd had surgery, and she had to fight for her final payment for her, like, what's it called when you leave? And severance pay. Yeah. She had to fight for her severance pay. And not only that, she was made to sign a contract on leaving that barred her from working for any other similar role or site for 3 years.
Such bullshit, isn't it?
This is all to do with Mike Michaud and the Walkers being complicit in it. Like, whether or not they made direct decisions or were involved in direct decisions that Mike Michaud made, they were at least sitting back and letting it happen.
Because Mike Michaud's not creative.
No.
But he
is the majority shareholder and CEO of Channel Awesome.
Yeah.
So, Taylor's old as time nowadays, a media outlet about creativity being run by the least creative fucker on the planet.
Yeah.
And who is undermining those who actually make the content and ergo the money for the company.
Mm-hmm.
But Holly Brown talked about how, she'd been cut short like that. She talked about the things she had to send to people, like contracts for the team-ups and crossovers that stopped them from, basically if you worked on one of their big movies, they covered your travel and they covered your staying expense, but you weren't paid for it. So you were basically taking time out of making your own videos and ergo your own money to take part in it. Of course, there are benefits and downsides to that. Downsides are, of course, you're not earning while you're away making the crossover movie. But making the crossover movie will expose you to more people who will then come and watch your content. So it's
exposure.
Yeah, but at least exposure with paid accommodation and travel. However, no one got says in the script. For a man who decried Tommy Wiseau in his Room review and all that, Doug Walker basically treated every film set the same way a chapter of The Disaster Artist is sort of
revealed.
Yeah. Right down to one occasion it being a straight up Tommy Wiseauism, no water or snacks available for people to eat on a 12-hour filming day.
Yeah. Good.
It's what the hell?
Good. Very good.
So that kind of shit's going down. Also, in the contract to take part in the movie, one of the stipulations was you will all be designated your schedule while you're out there in terms of your time.
Yeah.
In your downtime, if you want to use that to here's everyone else's schedule. If you want to plan crossovers with other content creators, go for it, because obviously that's a big opportunity. Yeah. It's oh my god, I'm a game reviewer. I'm in the same room as Angry Joe. Hey, Angry Joe, do you want to do a crossover? Brilliant! We've got free time on Tuesday during the shoot. We'll film it.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Problem was, if you did that, the profits for the crossover had to go toward Channel Awesome.
Yeah.
Because you were doing it on their time, and that was how they were going to cover some of the costs of equipment rental and putting you up and everything.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Interesting. So not fun.
No.
The last one of these big crossover movies was called To Boldly Flee.
Yeah.
And it was Doug Walker's way of killing off the nostalgia critic. He'd kind of done it and he wanted to do other things now.
Yeah.
The way the movie's written is it's essentially saying it's like the end of reviewers. The movie sort of looks at the idea of this era of videos and nonsense, coming to an end.
Mm.
Well, none of the creators were aware of this, and also a lot of them weren't aware that Doug was killing off the critic until the filming had finished. That was affecting them big time, because, of course, what was the main draw to the website? Nostalgia Critic.
Yeah.
He was bringing new people. Now, all the producers had fan bases by this point, but, that was still the thing that brought people to the site to then discover the new content creators that they'd never seen before. Killing him off would obviously affect everyone. And he'd not told anyone. And the movie is written in a way that implies that all of them, him included, but all of them don't matter anymore. Yeah, so people had beef with that. So that's another thing that's come out, they weren't informed of that. There was somebody who was a friend of one of the producers who ended up helping out a lot of the production of the, I think, second to last movie, which was called Suburban Nights. And she was not compensated for her time. She ended up basically becoming the production runner because she volunteered to help one too many times and was just roped into it.
Neat.
Like, lunch was bought for everybody, and she was not given part of that budget to get lunch for herself.
Good.
It's just like, what is this? Like, the hell is going on?
This all seems perfectly above board.
Yeah, Phelan was meant to do the visual effects for some of To Boldly Flee, the last movie. But he was given like a really short amount of time, not much direction on what to do. So he did the best he could, considering he's not a visual effects guy, but he does use them in his content.
Yeah.
Doug, behind his back, messaged to some of his friends and was like, is he half-arsing this? Because this isn't good. And then Doug Walker's lot finished off the visual effects, but they still credited Phelan as the visual effects guy for the film. It's just some dodgy shit. And the two biggest outcomes so far have changed the channel, because ultimately a lot of the content creators who started this little movement, that has grown, didn't do it to shit on the website and to ruin things for people. They did it because they just wanted to make people aware of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes of programs and organisations like this, to say that this isn't on and we should say something about it. Unfortunately, it's having a lot of negative effect. There are a lot of very loyal Channel Awesome viewers to the website itself who are attacking those former content creators, which is the wrong thing to do.
And also, Channel Awesome's responses
have been...
Yeah,
well, give us a sec.
Sorely lacking. A sec, we've already had 25 minutes on this shit!
We're here, don't you worry. But so, here's the kicker. People who are in an unfortunate position right now. Jim Jarosz, who makes the props and sets and everything for the Nostalgia Critic show and all the stuff in Chicago, and Walter Benasiak, who does a lot of the editing and makes some of the occasional spin-off shows like Awesome Comics. They are just like paid members of the crew to work on Chicago.
Yeah,
they're obviously in a very awkward position where they are friends with the Walkers, but people are still like, "What do you have to say about all this?" It's like, well, they're not going to say anything.
Yeah.
Because they are, like, paid employees. They work, 3 to 5 days a week or whatever on these projects. They are paid directly for it. They're not paid in exposure or anything like that. Leave them alone. Same with Malcolm Ray and Tamara Chambers, who are the two other recurring cast members in the Nostalgia Critic, playing all the other parts. Like, they are actors who live and work in Chicago, who are paid to work on that show. Leave them alone. Don't harass them. It's difficult enough as it is.
Yeah.
Because they are in a fight between their employer and people who have basically proved that their employer or some of the people working at their employers are scumbags. Like, they're in a tough position. Them walking out doesn't make a point, and they have to make a living.
Yeah.
Leave them alone. Let them do what they need to do. They'll make their decision. So there's that. But... Here's oh fucking hell. So Channel Awesome replied twice.
Yes.
The first response was on Twitter, shortly after the document was released. Fucking hell. It basically says, we as a site, we're always striving to do what's best for our audience and our creators, and companies do make mistakes and people do need to learn from them, things like that. Good start. Great start. Good. Like, you're not going to fix all the damage that's happened, but all you need to do here is stick the landing by saying, we're very sorry for everything that has happened. We're going to talk to some individuals to hopefully smooth some things over and make them, make them aware that we know there was a problem, that we're sorry for it. And we hope you continue to support us going forwards. We're going to obviously try and make sure these changes happen. Bonus points if they end the message with, and we've had a chat with everybody, and Mike Michaud is no longer the CEO, or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, bonus points if that's the outcome, but whatever. No. Slap bang in the middle of it, they say, in regards to former content creators, we are sorry you felt that way.
Everyone's favourite non-apology.
Yeah. Yeah. Cue an instant flurry of freaking memes of that South Park thing, but with Doug's face superimposed, the guy just going, we're sorry. We're sorry. You're just like stroking deer. So sorry. No. Before this, a bunch of content creators currently on the site had started to leave.
Yeah.
Because they were looking at everything and going, I can't support this site anymore. Like, I'm doing okay on my own.
Mm-hmm.
I've got enough on Patreon to keep me going okay. Mm-hmm. So I'm now just going to push my views and say, hey everyone, if you want to keep watching me, come follow me.
Come
And
follow
people-
me.
For the most part, seem to be doing that. People are finally making use of their tabs and browsers and favourites lists, and they're saving all of their favourites on YouTube.
Oh no!
This and the other. Channel Awesome put out a second response. This time it was a response to refute the document itself, the not so awesome document.
Oh yeah, with a bunch of screen caps of chats that don't actually say what they say they're saying.
They don't try to refute every point. They say they're just trying to refute the most egregious ones.
Yeah, it's like 6 or 7, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. One of the 7 is to a male member of the site who was sexually harassed by one of the former heads of the site, Mike Ellis.
Yeah.
Who basically aggressively sexually messaged him several times, despite him being a married man and despite Sean, the site member, not wanting him to talk to him.
Yeah.
At the time, Mike Michaud responded to that with, "Oh, we told him to stop doing this."
Sure.
Great, there you go.
Sure.
Um,
Awesome.
They refute Sean's point by being like, "This isn't true, Mike was already spoken to on a separate occasion, blah, blah, blah." And then they leave it at that. The other 6 points are against female members of the site, and they try and get really dirty with it. So there's this blatant misogynism going on in the document already that's just like, this is fucking horrible. In their response to the document, but add to that, a Jane Doe commented in the document, a fan of the site, I believe, not a contributor, but someone who worked with producers.
Yeah.
Who claims to have been sexually assaulted by one of the site's former content producers.
Mm-hmm.
She preferred not to give her name and she preferred not to give his name, but the reason she contributed the story wasn't to try and out this person, because she says that has long been there's nothing that can be done about this now.
Yeah.
However, I just want to let you know that what happened when it was reported was that one of the site heads or whatever, one of the staff members, basically gave her a similar response of, "We told him to not do this, and we'll have a word with him."
What the fuck? What the fuck, guys?
Channel Awesome in their rebuttal to the document said, "We did have words with him, and we fired him from the site." Yeah.
Yeah, sure, okay.
So they post chat logs. I mean, that is something. It's something.
Yeah, that fixes everything.
No,
We'll
but
just fire him from the site.
No, but also it's
I
cutting
know
off his support from them and business from them. But at the same time, they should have at least, issued some kind of statement, whether they were going to say his name or not. They should have released a statement to say, "We believe that sexual harassment is taking place between one of our fans. We want anyone else to come forward to talk to us," or something. Do you know what I mean? So they could maybe report it, or if the fans or people who've been harassed didn't want it to go to a legal, proceeding, then that's fine. But at least there's a history. Yeah,
I get you, fam.
They post the chat log to prove that this person was fired.
Because that's what they do now, apparently.
Yeah. They blur out the names of the people in it, including the person.
Yeah.
But they post the chat log to prove where it was. They don't block out the date. So people, of course, start to put 2 and 2 together and think, what Channel Awesome contributor was fired around that time? And it was Jew Wario.
Oh, now we come back to this.
Yeah. More stuff starts to come out. And it appears now what may have happened is that Jew Warrior was fired for sexual misconduct by, sexually assaulting someone.
Yeah.
And mixed in with his depression, killed himself because the information was about to come to light.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now, obviously, did a horrible thing, an inexcusable thing, but at the same time, mental issues, so, the death could have been avoided, but similarly, it's that whole thing of, is this a good... Obviously, death is not a good thing, but it's is this a good thing because no one else is going to be... But at the same time, because
it's just a bad
human
situation all around. Yeah.
There is no one who's coming out of this in a good way. Annoyingly, some fans are now trying to figure out who the person who was assaulted was by going back through stuff to try and find connections and mentions and figure out which producers they knew and who they hung out with. And so some horrible shit is coming out of this. But also think about it. Channel Awesome stopped anyone else making a tribute video to Justin Carmichael, to Jew Wario. They made one. When they were fully aware of why he was fired, fully aware of what might have pushed him to kill himself, and there were ads on their tribute video. They profited from his suicide. Which is even creepier when you know what they knew about him. That's the really horrible thing that's come out of this lately.
This is
exhausting. I'm going to give you one last thing, which is more
horrible.
Which is more humorous. I'll give you one more humorous tidbit.
Please do, because I need a little story.
Because more stuff keeps coming out as time goes by. But here's the one humorous tidbit about Change the Channel. So, Channel Awesome as a studio, the Chicago lot who make the Nostalgia Critic and stuff,
Yeah.
stopped posting their episodes up to the minute when they're meant to come out on YouTube, and started posting them on Vimeo. Which suggested that they were frightened for a while of putting it on YouTube and having the
What?
comments section open.
What?
Yeah. They started to post again, but obviously they're not responding directly to stuff. Charity companies that they work with for a genuinely nice thing they do at the end of the Nostalgia Critic videos called the Charity Shout-Out.
Yeah.
Charity companies are no longer getting in touch with them asking for a shout-out because they don't want to be associated with them.
Yeah.
You know, it's bad when even charities are going like, yeah, no, we don't need your help.
Yeah.
Leave us
Bye.
alone.
See ya.
But as of about 4 weeks ago, Channel Awesome had about 40 contributors. 40 producers who were giving them content. And a backlog of a bunch of other stuff.
That's a chunky. That's a
Yeah.
It's a chunky
Categories as well, like miscellaneous anime, animation, comics, film, video games, blah blah blah. About 2 weeks ago, they were down to 22.
Shit a brick.
Middle of last week, 7.
What?
As of this recording, and a couple of them were just late leaving because they, like one of them, Erod, who's the Blockbuster Buster, doesn't really use social media.
Yeah.
So he's not following all that side of it, but obviously people were getting in touch with him to talk about it and ask about it. He eventually put out a statement through Linkara, again, one of the site's longest contributors, and one of the first to leave when this started. Put a statement out through him, just letting people know he's aware of what's happening, and he has handed in his resignation. Oh, and keep in mind, the moment people quit, Mike Michaud has immediately removed them from the site, like with no questions asked.
Yeah.
Although there seems to have been a hesitance in that last number of people leaving, because obviously now that big scroll down menu is a little bitty column. As of this recording, that column has 3 links in it, aside from the Nostalgia Critics link. Yeah? 3. One of them is Brad Jones, the cinema snob, who is in an awkward position because he is big friends with the Chicago team. He's never had any bad experiences with them himself.
Yeah.
He's also big friends with a lot of the former producers, so it could be that he is contractually involved in the company in some way that means he's not quite ready to leave. However...
Oh, yeah, because Doug Walker doesn't own the rights to the Nostalgia Critic.
Yeah, well, he owns part of the rights.
Yeah, they're shared out.
Yeah, but Mike Michaud is the majority shareholder,
Yeah.
so he's the one who can decide what happens with the Nostalgia Critic. Because, of course, the Nostalgia Critic came back shortly after them killing him off.
Yeah.
Because they realised, that makes us money, bring it back. And I imagine that probably wasn't even Doug's suggestion, it was probably Mike Michaud's. And also the direction of the show and how it's changed is Doug's suggestion. It's not as great. With 2 very talented co-cast members, but not as great. Anyway, so Brad Jones is tied into it in a way that could be uncomfortable, but people have noticed that on a lot of his social media and his own website, he no longer links to Channel Awesome. So he's either quit and is unable to be removed from the site yet, or is at least like quitting outside of the site itself.
Yeah.
To basically say to everyone, yeah, I'm with you, but I can't actually leave right now. But whatever. Archived shows is another link, which is just a bunch of the archived stuff from the Chicago team's history and like some of the movies, although apparently a couple of the movies have now disappeared, the crossover films.
Well, weren't they selling them on DVD?
Yes, which saw profit for no one but the Chicago team.
Well, of course. Including
artwork used on the cover of one of them by a fan who was not compensated or paid properly for it.
Standard.
Yeah. And the only other surviving member is Guru Larry Bundy Jr. Guru Larry's been on for a very long time. He's got a bigger following on YouTube in terms of his income, so he's okay. He's not going to suffer if he leaves Channel Awesome. The reason he's still on there is because he says for the near 10 years he's been on the site, he's never been on the front page, despite people meant to have a proper thing. So out of pure spite, he's sticking around until he gets on the front page. Now, he's been on the front page just from the automated like scrolling thing the last few days. But now he's like, oh, do you know what? I'm going to wait and see who goes first, me or Brad. I'm just going to sit here as long as it takes. He's made it very clear that he's intending to leave, but he's just waiting.
Yep.
Like, he is just waiting to see what happens.
Yeah.
So he's basically staying around out of spite.
Brilliant.
It looks like people have changed the channel. Now...
Yeah. In a big way.
I mean, holy shit. Like, this is a clusterfuck of stuff. And we are living in a world post-Weinstein stuff, and, you know, like, we're in the Me Too movement. And, like, we're in a world where people are now a lot more open about discussing...
It feels like people are turning over all the rocks.
Yeah.
And, like, all those places where people are hiding are getting exposed.
Especially it's about business and positions of power. It's about how corporations or individuals have taken advantage, either they're in a business way, a sexual way, like, a predatory way, how people have been taken advantage of by those above them in positions of power.
Yeah.
Be that massive Hollywood producers or a content aggregate site that has mistreated people for far too long, that their day has finally come.
Yeah.
A lot of people are suggesting that all the former creators all chip in a couple bucks each to buy a domain so that they all have a site to host their content. They may do that, they may not do that.
I think that's just going back to...
Well,
I'm
yes
not
and,
sure that
yes and
aggregate
no,
sites are
but
necessarily the way to go either.
well, unless the way they do it is they just buy the domain, they all chuck $1 in or whatever for the
Yeah.
upkeep over a year, and then it's just a place. But it's, either way, I think a lot of them are going to do fine as they are.
Yeah.
A lot of them are still very much friends. There are those who wanted everything to be fine, like Tony Goldmark, whose stuff I really love, Some Joke with the Camera, was like, I'm going to stick around and wait and see what the Chicago teams say in response to the document. And then when they released the statement they did, he went, yeah, I can't fucking defend these people anymore, and he left. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Like, this is ridiculous. But, so people are severing ties with the main base, but all the same, a lot of them are friends, so you might still see some crossovers, you might still see team-ups from time to time with people.
Yeah.
It's worth keeping an eye on. I highly recommend going and looking up the videos by Alison Pregler on it, by Mars Girl. Blockbuster Buster's video is an interesting one that come out. It's called I Quit Channel Awesome, which went up on YouTube the weekend just gone, which is essentially an account from somebody who didn't really deal with them directly about anything, but kind of felt like he was ignored the entire time he was there.
Quentin Reviews has a pretty good.
He's done a good breakdown, because he's been doing a series called Fallen Titans?
Yeah, about like various YouTubers and YouTube trends that have kind of gone away or fallen from grace. And
there are plenty of videos on Change the Channel now. A lot of them are just people obviously trying to milk it for the cash. Some of them are more informative than others. Some are attempts at roasts that are not funny based on which one you watch. But those are the ones we'd recommend. Like Quentin Reviews sums it up really nicely, and Alison Pregler, Blockbuster Buster. Those are the ones that you're going to get the direct thing. Some people like Lindsay Ellis have said they're not going to talk about it beyond this point because they don't want to draw more attention to it.
Lindsay Ellis had a thing on Twitter where she said every time she started up a swear jar now, where every time she tweets anything involving Channel Awesome, she'll donate $50 to charity.
So basically, she's not talking about Channel Awesome ever again.
No.
So fair enough.
Because she's already done one.
Yeah.
She's already done the first swear jar deposit.
Oh, God. So, ladies and gents, fucking don't ever work with a CEO who treats you like shit, basically, is the moral of the story.
Yeah.
And the internet is a dark, scary place.
Full of shitheels.
Speaking of dark, scary places and heels,
at
least souls,
I would say
and the horrible things that can happen to them.
I would say this week's is this week's main topic, but we've just spent 40 minutes talking about Change the Channel.
We have to flip a coin at the end of this to decide what ends up being the thumbnail.
Oh, please be A Quiet Place.
Oh, no. Oh, God.
A Quiet Place.
Unless it's Channel Awesome. Now, A Quiet Place.
Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad. It's not good, but it's not bad.
I'll tell you what is good or bad. We'll tell you.
A Quiet Place.
Yeah.
The new horror drama from director John Krasinski, also
his
starring
directorial
John Krasinski,
debut,
co-written by John. I think he has made some other stuff.
No, but this is like his first feature film.
Yeah,
isn't it? Like his first theatrical release, and it's through Platinum Dunes.
Yeah,
who have made a declaration that they're not going to release any more horror reboots. Keep in mind, Platinum Dunes, of course, did the Friday the 13th remake for 2009. They did the Nightmare on Elm Street remake,
which wasn't good.
No, they're a production company owned by Michael Bay, so that kind of gives you a bit of a sense of their priorities. But it seems like they've made a pretty smart decision here by going, "You got a story? Great. Let's see what you do with it. Go make your low budget, really straightforward, really powerful, scary." Family horror movie, which I mean in both senses of the word. You could probably watch this with not too young children. If you've got a child who's closer to 10, who's got a bit of a stronger stomach for scary stuff, I think they could watch this.
I don't know,
because there's nothing graphic in full display. it's more the tension and the pacing and the way things are told.
Oh man, is this a tense movie?
Yeah, my God.
Because it's so, funnily enough, it's so quiet.
Yeah, here there be no spoilers for a bit, but I think we'll do a bit of a spoiler chat for this one.
You tell us the premise of A Quiet Place, Christopher, because I can't be bothered.
Oh, okay. A Quiet Place takes place in not too distant future of sort of 2021.
I think the current year is 2020.
Well, it's 2021 because of the prologue. And then you see the date of the
Oh,
prologue
yeah,
later,
sure. Yeah.
But it's not too far away, which gives it a nice kind of Last of Us sort of feel to the whole thing. Because you see like bits of technology we currently use in there, but it's not prominent. Everything's really low tech. We're a family. I don't think they're ever named, are they?
Only in the credits.
In the credits. But a family, played by John Krasinski as the dad, Emily Blunt is the mum.
Who are married in real life also.
Their 3 children are living a very, very, very quiet existence. We see them raiding a pharmaceutical place for medicine. Like a convenience store, and they're getting stuff. No one wears shoes. They all walk on like this powder that they've put everywhere.
Yeah, they've tried to spread sand as much as possible
to all the places that they go to.
And where not, walk very carefully.
Yeah. No one speaks. Their eldest child, their daughter, is deaf, so they're all adept in sign. They're all talking very quietly in sign language. And of course, you spend the prologue going, what's going on? Why is there no one else?
Yeah.
Why are they? Huh.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the prologue, you get a gist of why everyone has to be quiet. The film skips forward a bit of time, and there's a new arrival on the way.
Yeah.
In the family, and they are preparing for obviously, a baby and the noise and whatnot that would come with that, and how they're planning to prevent any noise getting out of their farmhouse that they're living in upstate New York. And you get a sense briefly that there are other people out there too, living quietly and not making any kind of racket in every sense.
But why can't people make a sound, Christopher?
Because there is something out there. Something violent and horrific that can't see you, it can't smell you, but by Jiminy, it can hear you.
Oh, yes.
And thus we have the basic premise of the movie. The bulk of the film takes place over the course of a day and a night in the family's life, where this seemingly textbook existence that they've figured out to survive gets disrupted, and they have to survive one very violent, terrifying experience.
Yeah. It's
the trailers put a lot of people off in the States from what I read, because people thought it was like a sophisticated kind of thrillery sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like it was a mother / a ghost story,
and
kind of like it's not a straight up as thing. It's a bit more artsy than that. Come along.
Make no mistake, the script and the character work and the performances are very, very strong and key to why this film works so well.
Yeah.
But this is a straight up monster movie.
Yeah.
Very much a creature feature horror movie with a killer concept.
Yes.
And just brilliant execution. It's wonderfully shot and directed. The script is just the right amount of sparse. just to give you a sense of this world and the characters, but without any guff.
Yeah. Oh
there's
God.
There's no.
It is a guffless film.
There's no fat on this.
It's a film without guff.
There's no fat on this meat. This is a lean.
Which is why
steak.
in this week's Meat, Mead and Merriment we're rating it a 0 out of 10.
0. Less than 0.4% fat. That's how much you need to be fat free. I don't know how much you need to be fat free. There is. Yeah, there's just no bloat to this.
No.
And
I mean, the runtime is a big giveaway. The runtime is 93 minutes, I think it is.
And that's including credits, I imagine.
Yeah.
So it's barely 90 minutes long.
But it's perfect, horror movie length. It's you're in, you're out. It is a concise experience.
And yet you get a sense of these people's lives and histories because it's just very economical storytelling.
Yeah.
A lot of it through visuals, obviously, because there's little to no dialogue.
Do you know what? I'd in terms of modern culture? Do you know
Yeah.
what I'd compare it to?
What's that?
A Pixar short.
A long Pixar short.
It's
Yeah.
a long Pixar short, yeah. But
Because-
like the way the Pixar shorts are, you're in and you're out in 8 minutes, and you come out of it going, "My God, I really like that character. I get a complete sense of their
Yeah,
life.
yeah.
I understand how this works. That was a fun little adventure or a little moment in their life we got to witness." Like it's that it. You know, obviously we go back to the early days of cinema before they started putting text captions into stuff in the silent era,
Yeah.
and it was just the visual. You have to rely heavily on telling everything through what you see. And this film does that so well. Because like you say, you know who these people are.
Absolutely.
By the 20-25 minute mark, you have a big sense of who everybody is and what they're like, what their drive is, who they want to be, what they'd rather be, what situation they'd rather be in. How they've just gotten used to this, but not complacent with it.
No.
It is. And just the little things. Like, at one point, the two eldest siblings play Monopoly. And the houses are little. You can tell that one of them crochets because the house is just these little red puff balls of wool, and the pieces are like a knitted brooch, and like a little like paper ball and things like that. Because of course they are. Because if they weren't, you'd be knocking them against the board, and that'd be making noise. And it's just little stuff like that. The sand everywhere. When you realise that they only ever walk on these trails of sand, implying that regularly one or several of them top up these trails.
Oh, well, you see them do it.
Yeah. And it's just like that stuff, and they have a grain silo that obviously they must access from below or something. That they're getting stuff out as quietly as possible.
Yeah.
They signal to other places just to check in on them.
Yeah.
By
signal fires.
Little signal fires, like John Krasinski's character sits on top of the silo and
Gondor calls for aid!
Yeah, lights a fire, and you see like 4 or 5 around them in the distance, and the rest of the farmlands, and you're like, right, there are people out there. Okay. But they're not all meeting up and planning, because whatever these things are cannot be killed.
No.
Like, and John Krasinski's character has obviously been trying to figure out exactly what they are.
Yeah.
And how maybe to kill them, and how many there are. That he knows there's 3 of them that hang out in the area. So there are definitely 3 out there.
Like he's not just sitting there twiddling his thumbs and surviving. He's planning and like trying to improve their situation, and they make things.
Fixes his daughter's hearing aid. Like you see that he's read into how to do that and completely taught himself how to fix hearing equipment.
He's used his quiet time to learn and improve and wants to pass that on to his kids as well.
He's got a bunch of radios because he's trying to reach out to different countries and different frequencies, which is nice because the film doesn't outright ever say what these things are, why they're here, or how widespread it is.
No.
For all we know, it's just America or part of America. I know outside of the film he's talked a bit about it.
There was some stuff in one of the trailers that was shot specifically for the trailer campaign, which is like where they're watching the news reports as it starts going down.
Okay.
And
because in the film all we ever see of that is a few of the front pages.
Yeah.
In fact, the front page in the prologue is obviously from the last day before everything went to shit.
Yeah.
And it's the day humanity figured out that sound is what they're hunting with.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh god, it was far too late. Because of course, Lucy and I were discussing this after the film. She was like, why would it have gotten that far? And I said, well, the only way people could really tell, if you think about it, that it's sound that they prey on is if everything was quiet enough that you'd be able to notice that.
Yeah.
And the world is not a quiet place.
No, it is not.
Like, despite what the VFD may say, the world is not quiet here. Like, so it is, like, stuff like that is... there's way Homer qualities about this. The stuff that after the movie you go, oh yeah, like very much like Ghost Stories. Like,
it's very smartly put together. Again, because there's no fat on it.
Yeah,
it's straight in, straight out. 90 minutes, bang. This is all you need to know. These are your characters. This is how we're gonna show you everything they do, everything they are. They don't name them in the film. They never name the characters.
Yeah.
It's all because they're all talking to each other. Of course, they don't use their names. They don't need to.
There's maybe about 20 lines of spoken dialogue in the whole movie.
Yeah, That's a generous.
Yeah,
a generous
no,
estimation.
I'm counting just like even just one word lines as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Like it's very small.
Yeah, the vast majority of what dialogue there is, and again, even including the sign stuff, there isn't that much. Is signed with subtitles.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's so well used and economically used that it just makes it incredibly effective. Because there's no wasted time. There's no stuff just going on for the sake of having stuff going on.
There's no guff and there's no stuff.
Especially how bloated movies can be nowadays. I mean, the closer we get to Infinity War, the more worried I am about the sheer amount of stuff that's going to be in that movie.
Whenever I worry about that, I just think back to Civil War.
Yeah.
And think if they can balance that, then let's pour some more stuff on it, and hopefully they can still balance it.
But look at something like.
Whereas this it is what it is.
Look at something like the Batman vs Superman, or even though people loved it, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. I just thought it was so cluttered with stuff that didn't matter to the story they were telling, and of course people love it because it's so arty and characterful, and it's like, no, it's just nonsense. It's just getting in the way of what the actual story is. And A Quiet Place does none of that shit. It just cuts straight to the bone.
It's a Stephen King short story style kind of thing.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's like, here it is. Like, here's the premise. Here's that night.
Yes.
Watch it.
All that being said, I have got Skeleton Crew on audiobook, which is one of Stephen King's short story collections.
Apologies, yeah.
His short stories can still run to over an hour in audiobook form.
Oh, God.
And shit. The Skeleton Crew's the one that's got The Mist in it, which is a novella.
Of course, yeah.
And that's a 4-hour audiobook.
Christ.
Although it is read by Will Patton. So it's very, very good.
Okay.
The cast of the Skeleton Crew audiobook is fucking great, apart from Matthew Broderick. But yeah.
That's a lot of fish.
But yeah, I mean, I get what you mean, like,
yeah.
he tends to, but you can get away with it in a book because it's so descriptive, but when you actually look at his short stories, it does get in and out of the premise quite economically.
Cast-wise, the kids are freaking brilliant.
Oh, yes. So we've got John Krasinski and Emily Blunt are the parents.
Oh, they're so
and
good.
They're fantastic. And it's an aversion of the idea that real-life couples should never play on-screen couples because they do it fabulously, and it just feels so.
Well, I think it's because so
real.
much had to be conveyed without words.
Yeah.
That you really needed to sell it, and if two actors who are an item can get to that point where that they feel comfortable, definitely bringing an element of themselves to the part they're playing, then it can definitely work in the story's favour. Because in this, they barely exchange any words, and you completely buy these two characters as husband and wife. Like and mother and father to their children,
and a close husband and wife, not husband and wife that have like got a dark past or have issues or have got like marital strain.
You get the sense in this that they were they were simple folk before the events of the story.
Yeah.
It probably was their farm. It's probably not a place they've holed up in. It probably was where they lived.
Simple folk living a relatively quiet, happy life.
Like they're doing, and the problem is you say simple folk nowadays, people go like, "Oh, are you trying to say they're stupid?" It's like, no. We literally mean that idealistic. We have a farm. We produce stuff. We work hard. We look after each other. We're happy.
There's no drama going on. Yeah. They're not like. There's no like. Oh, there was a forgotten infidelity, or there's like none of that shit comes across. Because I mean, Christ, it doesn't fucking matter.
They're on the verge of their 4th child together, which they have either chosen to or decided to continue to have in a world where that child is going to be in permanent danger. Yeah. But they believe in each other and the family that much that they're going to make it work. I mean, there's also implications that they're very religious. So, like, again,
to a degree,
you get the sense that obviously maybe that their religion dictates that they're going to have a baby. They're going to have the baby.
Yeah.
And they're ready for it. And also that's kind of nice as well for it's a horror film where religion, which has sort of been forgotten over the years, like, all the horror films tended to depict religion as genuinely like a good thing, as something that you believe in and whatnot. And this film, without hammering it home, it's like, this is clearly a religious, tight-knit family who are going to deal with this together, and they're lovely and they're not insane.
But also, how religion aside, how does someone with no medical training perform a safe abortion?
True. Then again, we don't know what the deal is with abortion clinics in this world. Maybe they soundproof to high hell, and there's no one protesting outside of them.
We got to talk about the kids. We got to talk about Millicent Simmons, who plays the eldest daughter, who is both in the film and in real life deaf, and uses like a hearing aid that it goes over her ear and connects to the back of her skull. So it's probably some kind of bone induction tech, which is a real thing. Noah Jupe, who plays the middle son, and Cade Woodward, who plays the little fella,
the tiny fella, who will break your goddamn heart the moment you see him.
Mate.
It's like, oh, normal. They cast so well with that.
These kids are just brilliant. Millicent Simmons, particularly, because a big part of the film, what little drama this family has, is the relationship between her and her father.
Yeah.
And that sort of, because she's clearly a teenager.
Well, that's the thing. It's like that thing of, you don't even really love me kind of like thing that happens, but in the world they're in and the circumstances that they've lived through as a family.
Yeah, because the stakes are so high.
Yeah.
And his protectiveness being mistaken for dismissiveness, and because although they communicate with sign and communicate fluently with sign, there is the sense that part of what little friction there is between the family, mainly between John Krasinski's father and Millicent Simmons' daughter, it comes from their lack of ability to communicate in the way that they need to.
Yeah.
Even though they would communicate with sign anyway, if none of this situation was going on, the situation they're in, it feels like it's just driven, and the stuff that's happened to them to get to this point has driven such a wedge between them that they just can't seem to find the time to communicate that to each other. They have the ability to communicate it to each other, but they just haven't been able to. Yeah. And it's, as the audience, what everyone's true feelings are, because again, it's so well performed and well written.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's so difficult for them to express it to each other, and that's the real heart of this movie, which is why it gets kind of the sort of The Last of Us feel. It's a little bit Last of Us. There's a little bit of Logan in there. It is very much that father-daughter protectiveness and the unwillingness to let go and just trust.
Yeah.
In their own child's ability to fend for themselves. It's very, very, very well done. It's got a real it's a great tense creature feature with a real emotional core, and boy is it tense.
Yeah.
You'll give your asshole cramp tensing. Like, you'll be going 10p 5p the whole time because it's so quiet.
That's true. Oh yeah, some guys came in a bit late to the film. We were on the back row. Some guys came in just after the prologue, and they came to the row in front of us. We were like, great, and they were sort of chammering away as people always do, and they're slightly embarrassed because they've got in too late. And then one of them opened up a big bag of crisps. But about 5 minutes in, they obviously, after they calmed down from there, oh god, I can't believe we got here late. They realised, yeah, we should shut up. And one of them just placed their popcorn on the seat next to them and left it until the end of the movie.
This is not a movie you want to take snacks into. It's not a movie you want to arrive late to.
If you're going to watch A Quiet Place, pre-open your sweets, put them in the cup holder in the arm next to you, and just put your fingers in and take them out as you go in. Don't be rustling packets, guys.
Don't fucking eat anything or drink anything. It's 90 minutes long, for fuck's sake. It's 90 minutes long. You can go 90 minutes without eating or drinking.
I had chocolate buttons, so. I don't even think we need to go into spoiler territory on this one. I think.
Is there anything you particularly want to talk about other than just how brilliant it is?
No, that's the thing. I think it's stuff that we could.
There are definitely things I want to talk about in terms of, oh my god, and this happened, and that was brilliant, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's Yeah, if you've seen it and you want us to talk spoilers, then let us know. But I mean,
Yeah.
I'm happy to just go, oh my god, this is brilliant, go see it. Because all the spoiler talk is just going to be, wasn't this brilliant the way they did this?
Yeah.
And it's like, if you haven't seen the movie, it's not going to sell it on you because we don't want to tell you what happens in it.
I mean, again, not non-spoilers, but keywords of things to basically the things that hit me as like the best moments or the bits that really freaking screwed me up. End of the prologue, my god.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
The bathtub and everything that leads up to that moment, of course. Rockets. Oh, rockets. The nail.
Oh, oh my god, the nail!
Yeah.
Oh!
Yeah.
I'm squirming thinking about it.
Yeah.
Oh my days!
I almost wanted, the final person, to come down the stairs at the end. I almost wanted just one shot of them with the nail and the nail being flattened.
Well,
I almost wanted just that, so you'd be like, oh.
They make you think that that's going to come into play again because of the way it's again. A lot of storytelling and nudging is in this movie is to what you need to watch out for things and think it's teasing the way it's going to go is from the framing and the shooting of it, which is why I think that Krasinski and who's his DOP on this? Where's my IMDb? Where's my IMDb?
Where's my IMDb? Go hip. Looking for the quiet place. DOP.
Charlotte Bruce Christensen. So, yeah, her and Krasinski have done such a great job of framing all this stuff. What else has she done? What else has she shot?
My chair creaked in anticipation and would have got us killed instantly.
Oh, she shot Molly's Game. She shot Fences. The Girl on the Train with Emily Blunt. A bunch of stuff. Far from the Madding Crowd. Life, not the horror movie Life, different one. Yeah, but she's Danish, so she's done a whole bunch of Danish stuff. Yeah, Danish. So they do such a great job of lighting this thing, and it's not. It is in the similar way to Ghost Stories had this very washed out palette.
Yeah.
A Quiet Place has got this very warm, earthy, sort of rural palette to it.
The film rarely looks like a horror film.
Yeah.
It looks like sort of the life that these guys are leading and the comfortable situation they're making out of it as best they can, which is why the stark contrast of those moments is so frightening.
And it's so
because even though they're already in a horrible situation as far as like the world they're living in, like this is about the one time things go wrong for them within like that space of time. Just 2 times things go wrong.
Just as much of the horror takes place during the day as at night.
Oh god,
it doesn't need to be dark to be scary.
My god.
Yeah.
That was, I mean, that, as just the threat they're up against is given a few moments earlier in the movie just to establish to you, again, just through visual language, of how unstoppable the thing that's out there is.
Yeah.
And it's so clearly done in a way that you're like, oh god, I hope they're going to be alright.
You know what this movie reminded me of a little?
Aye.
Like, the good bits of Signs.
Yeah!
So, like, everything.
Yeah, and I say that as a man who
Signs.
doesn't like that movie, but
I
appreciate what you're on.
5 minutes, like, and even then, like, I'm like, no, this is stupid.
They want
whatever.
to invade a planet that's 90% the thing that kills them.
God.
They want to invade.
It's like, oh god. Yeah, and even then, I'm just like, you know what? This movie's been so good so far, I could give it a pass for this.
What's the bet in? Because I wonder who pitched the idea first, whether it was Krasinski or the screenwriters.
With the screenwriters, I think. I think it was a Blacklist script.
Wow, well, I was wondering whether or not, because it's through Platinum Dunes and Bay was producing, I was wondering whether or not at some point it was a, so they're these aliens, but they can only hear you.
Yeah,
Great!
yeah.
Well, it's about a team of Marines, and they're going to go in, and do you know what I mean? I wonder if at any point someone was like, yeah, we'll make it like that.
No, it was Brian Woods and Scott Beck had the script, and then when Krasinski did a little bit of tweaking on it when he came to direct. But I, from what I know, I don't think it's changed a great deal.
There was a wonderful post doing the rounds on
I know
Twitter
that
last week.
Krasinski made a big push for casting a deaf actress as the deaf character.
Good.
So he made a big push for Millicent Simmons. Because I think there was some resistance to that on the studio end.
Oh, because they probably wanted to add that extra bit of star power and cast like a teen that people know. Or
Probably,
something,
but like, I mean, she's also in Wonderstruck, which is an upcoming movie about coming of age movie. It looks like so. She might be one of those whose star is on the rise.
Yeah.
And this would be a neat start for her.
There was a wonderful tweet that did the rounds last week because it's I think it's in its third week at the American box office, and it is still profiting, and it's doing
pretty well.
It's made back, I think it's like 10 times its budget already.
Yeah.
So it's one of those that word of mouth is keeping it going.
I mean, I should say like it's a low budget movie, but it doesn't look cheap.
Oh no, like it's low.
Look cheap.
The only thing I could ascertain in terms of like where they've saved obviously money is simply because it's set on primarily one location.
Yeah.
And they're all outdoors wilderness locations for the most part,
Yeah.
so you're not paying a city to have to
And
film there and shut down streets and things like that.
But the production design is still really smart, and again, as with Ghost Stories last week, they show remarkable restraint.
Yeah.
Where they could just go, "It's CGI monster time!" and they ease back on it. In a way which keeps it tense. It's the Alien / Jaws effect. Like the less you see, the scarier it is to a degree.
And this tweet illustrated that quite nicely because it said what lesson Hollywood should learn from the success of A Quiet Place. Wow, we need to look into more of the lower budget, more independent projects. We need to support them and encourage these more niche horror movie ideas. With sole artistic visions from the people who've brought the story to us. Mm-hmm. The lesson Hollywood will probably learn. Greenlight a sequel, and a prequel, and an Amazon TV series, and a video game!
I'm not saying I'd be averse to A Quiet Place too.
Yeah, but I think it has to not be about the same characters, and it has to be another story from in this world. But the problem is, it might lessen for lack of a more respectful term, the gimmick of this one.
Yeah, maybe.
If we do it all again. And I wouldn't want a prequel. I don't want to find out how it happened.
No, don't care. It's not important. If you haven't got a story to tell, then don't bother.
Yeah.
Like, this universe is not interesting enough in and of itself to just, like, have another movie in it. But if you have a story to tell that could fit into this universe, then by all means.
What sums it up is...
It was originally...
pitched as a TV show?
No, it was originally going to be John Krasinski was playing with the idea of making it a Cloverfield movie.
There is one visual thing that makes me go, I can kind of see that.
Obviously, before they started shooting, and they just decided not to do that. But
I'm glad
that was a possibility at one point.
I mean, it would fit nicely into that umbrella that was introduced around the time of 10 Cloverfield Lane, of these independent sci-fi stories.
But I think the Cloverfield paradox has sort of soured that.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see how Overlord does when it comes out, whatever it's going to be called when it comes out. But yeah,
the Cloverlord.
The more I think about,
fuck off.
The more I think about
place your bets now.
Cloverfield paradox, the more I feel like Paramount definitely sold that off to Netflix. Just to be like, we can't. We know we've got a blood on our hands here.
Interesting,
so
isn't it?
Have this.
Interesting, isn't it, how it took the reshoots that added the Cloverfield stuff for them to, after that, go, oh yeah, no, this doesn't work.
Yeah, because I feel
it makes me think the product they had before was probably a lot more forgivable.
I don't know. I feel like some of the things that don't work about it would have not worked about it. I mean, that being said, I still enjoyed quite a bit of it.
Well, then again, we don't know what was taken out to make room for the additional stuff.
Well, yeah.
So I don't know. I had fun with Cloverfield Paradox. It ain't great.
Yeah, I know, it's not very good, but I
had a lot of fun with A Quiet Place.
Oh, so much fun with it. Well, fun's...
as an experience.
Yeah. It's fucking awesome. Just go watch A Quiet Place.
And I highly recommend doing
you've got another week till... over a week till
Infinity
War comes out.
I highly recommend doing what Matt did, which is watching Quiet Place and Ghost Stories on the same day.
If you can find somewhere that's playing Ghost Stories.
Yeah,
it's not got a massive release.
No, which is really annoying.
There was only 4 showings on the day we went to see it.
Yeah,
compared to
and that was the weekend it came out.
Yeah, so
that's annoying. But if you can double bill it, go for it. And if you happen to be one of our very few listeners in the States, based on the analytics. Ghost Stories hits cinemas this weekend for you.
Yeah, but it's only a limited release.
Please go and see it. Yeah, no, but we really recommend it. Like, find a theatre.
It comes out limited release cinematically, and also...
And then the VOD, it's
VOD,
shortly after,
no,
I think?
same time.
Same time? Oh, great. Well,
So-
get it in your eyes.
If you can get to see it at cinema, then do, because it's awesome at cinema. But if you're in the States and you can VOD Ghost Stories, then absolutely do, because it's really, really good.
Well, me fucked it.
And you probably are, and you've already seen A Quiet Place, presumably, because it's doing really well.
In the
So-
States.
Right, let's get this email out of the way,
We've got a chunky one.
because I want to go and do something else. This one comes in from Ian.
Oh, the imagination races.
Very frantic dabblings.
Oh, mince.
This is for you.
Is it?
Yeah, it's not for me, because I don't fucking understand it.
Oh. Beware possible minor spoilers for what I think he might be talking about, everyone. Which
Written-
may be Lemony Snicket.
Written in a rush in a smoke-filled lobby of Hotel Denouement. Dear reader, while I was correct in my assumption that they will be adapting the next 5 a series of Unfortunate Events books, I do feel that they have rushed them, and maybe due to the early books having no overarching plot. Also, the overuse of comedy, especially with the hench people who start going into the great unknown in the latter books to increase the threat and focus it more. Other than that, Netflix is on a slippery slope to success with a sugar bowl of delights, and I enjoy the rampant references and pleasant puns. I missed such Heimlich Hospital and Caligari Carnival. I think there's supposed to be an and as in there somewhere. I hope the Grim Grotto is good. It's one of my favourites, along with Miserable Mill and Vile Village. Line of hyphens.
Okay.
Saw Isle of Dogs. It was brilliant. Now, I don't think it's for the general public, unlike Fantastic Mr. Fox, but I did really enjoy it. And now I might have to see it a second time. I hope Wes Anderson continues with more... Can't say it. Wes Anderson continues with more stop-motion animation.
That's the one.
Yeah,
Oh, shut myself.
I would like to get around to checking out Isle of Dogs.
That still has quite a few showings,
Yeah.
as a last check.
Well, those are just a fucking Wes Anderson film.
Yeah.
It'll be, people love that shit. They lap it up. 'Cause it's so quirky.
Like a dog lapping up water from a bowl.
My cinema has a poster for Ghost Story, so hopefully I'll be seeing that soon. See it now! Not being a fan of superheroes, I'm not that fussed about Infinity War Part 1. And after The Last Jedi, I'm not fussed at all about the Solo film. I had a ridiculous debate with my friend about The Last Jedi, because he really didn't like it. And then his 9-year-old son teamed up with me
That's
to rag on him
brilliant.
for it being brilliant.
That's brilliant.
Because we're like, yeah, it's great. But he's like, but you don't. Spoilers for The Last Jedi. But you don't find out anything about who Snoke is. He just dies. It's like, well, yeah, because he's not important. Like, it's not about. He's not. Also, what would knowing more about Snoke add to that story, other than like another half hour of exposition? You know what I mean? But yeah, that's it. We've had this conversation.
I'm just sat here whispering no comment to myself.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you and the tiny child enjoyed it.
Yes. I mean, he's the target audience more than I am. So.
Yeah.
Next, it's a quantity of quality questions.
What? That sounds like a quandary.
Favourite Studio Ghibli film? I think I've only seen Spirited Away.
Yeah. Oh, hang on. I've seen Spirited Away, and I think I've seen some of My Neighbor Totoro. We'll have to get back to that in the future and watch some more, I think.
Chris, how did you find writing your Ninth Doctor fan audio? Or Fordio?
That doesn't say that in the email, does it? You just added an Fordio.
Yeah.
If you're talking about Cold Open, I was only involved in the writing for the first draft of it, because I basically was working too much at the time to contribute what I wanted to. So a bunch of my dialogue is in there, but Billy finished it, which is why he's got the writing credit for the thingy. But I enjoyed it. I plotted it out with Billy back in the day, and I directed it, including this handsome young man in the role of Aaron in the pre-credits stinger.
It's me!
And it did sting.
Yeah, I can definitely confirm that it did sting.
Sting like a motherfucker. Yeah. But yeah, we enjoyed coming up with the story, absolutely, and I remember, I think earlier on I fleshed out a lot more of of the plot as it ended up, but Billy definitely like breathed life into it by actually creating the dialogue and making sure it worked. I think the one bit of my writing that is mostly intact is when, like, as in from how I drafted it, and then it just stayed like that through to the next draft that Billy finished, and then the final, is the scene with them outside the TARDIS after he and Tabby have properly met each other, and they're sat out like by a fire. I think that's the one that it stuck in. But yeah, I enjoyed writing what I did write, and I enjoyed directing it with all the lovely actors who took part in it.
Oh, thank you.
If you're wondering about the second one, it's a little bit delayed just because some casting stuff never bloody materialised in the end, in terms of people who were meant to do stuff. So we're a bit behind, but the plan now is to just release them sporadically, I think, the final 2 stories. But I imagine definitely before the end of the year you will have heard 2 and 3. So.
It will be done when it's done.
Thanks for being patient with this thing we're making and giving you for free.
How would you do the Labyrinth sequel? I wouldn't.
Yeah, do you know what? I also wouldn't, but only because Labyrinth's meant to basically take place in Sarah's head.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of, you've got to suspend disbelief slightly, but ultimately...
Slightly?
No, but ultimately you could look at it as that Wizard of Oz style, did it really happen? Kind of thing. Although that makes the end really kind of awkward, because obviously at the end everyone's in a bedroom, they're all dancing, and I just love the mental image of we're seeing the wistful CGI owl fly away from outside the window, but I just love if then it cut back into the room and she's just lay on the floor, rolling on the floor, laughing and foaming at the mouth as her mum and stepdad come home.
No.
They're like, oh my god!
No.
What's happening? She's just surrounded by like narcotics.
No.
Dance, magic dance! Oh my god, Sarah, no!
No David Bowie, no Labyrinth. And that's my final word on the matter.
I think you could absolutely tell tales from the Labyrinth. In much like Netflix are doing a Dark Crystal show. You could definitely do like tales from the world of the Labyrinth.
Yeah, but Dark Crystal doesn't have...
But I think Labyrinth could be easily sequelized and served better in that way as like novels. I know they did it as a manga. They did a follow-up as a manga.
Yeah.
But like as books. Do books.
Don't need to do a movie because why bother without David Bowie? Like, who's going to replace him?
Well, exactly.
He is the definition of irreplaceable.
Yeah.
You can fucking do it with Jared Leto. I know you're thinking about it. I know you're fucking thinking about it. My friends, the same friends I was having the Black Jedi debate with, they went to see 30 Seconds to Mars.
Oh, yeah.
Band.
Alright.
Which consisted of Jared Leto, a drummer, and backing tracks.
What?
With no support act.
Why? What?
Because Jared Leto is a fuckwit. And an egomaniac.
Hang on, aren't there 3 members of 30 Seconds to Mars?
Not anymore!
Just 2? And a backing track to fill in the gap?
Apparently so.
What the fuck?
I know!
Where were they playing?
MEN?
The fuck?
Yeah!
So people have shelled out like 60 quid for a ticket
to
watch one act?
To see 30 Seconds to Mars with a drummer and fucking backing track. It's fucking Jared Leto okay.
What the hell?
I know!
I mean, I like the most recent song, but like, not enough for it to justify a drummer and Jared Leto with a backing track playing the MEN.
Well, let me see what the current touring lineup is.
Oh my god!
For 30 Seconds to Mars. While I do that, I'm going to finish this email.
Like, I could understand if maybe, like, you know, there's been an emergency or whatever, and they're just, like, they're making sure the shows carry on, but one of them's had to take a dip out. But even so, to play the Manchester Arena, essentially as karaoke. What the hell?
Seems it.
Oh my god. Keep going.
Oh, apparently they've got some Jared Leto and Shannon Leto. So Jared Leto on lead vocals and guitars, and Shannon Leto on drums. Apparently they've still got Tom Malechevich on lead guitar, bass guitar, violin, keyboard, and backing vocals, and Steve Aiello playing bass and keyboards live. But they weren't on stage, so yeah.
Oh my god, so it either was a backing track, or they were off stage and had to play
Yeah.
off stage, which makes it even more of an ego trip.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really weird.
Anyway, end of this email. Warm regards, best wishes
I
and
bet he sent them all.
appreciation.
He sent them all used condoms and bullets with their names
Your
written on, didn't
very
he?
faithful disciple,
Oh,
Ian. Postscript.
oh,
What is Ekins backwards?
cot death. Anyway, that's a call. That's a big damn callback.
Thanks for listening to the Big Dank Cast for another week. Please come back next time because I live on your misery. As always, at Big Damn Cast on Twitter, bigdamcontact@gmail.com, twitch.tv/Big Damn Stream for some streaming stuff. Not been able to do much this week just because of my schedule, but we'll be back. The week after this has come out, yeah. And I'm going to leave you with this tweet.
Oh,
That was retweeted by Eric Syria, who's a writer, good writer. And he retweets Matt Molina. The Louisiana State Senate passed a law banning sex with animals with a 25-10 vote. In other news, 10 Republicans in the Louisiana state voted in favour of having sex with animals. Hashtag true story.
I mean, that's...
Just simmer in that.
Oh, in the juices. Oh.
I think we're done here. I don't think we can top that.
Oh.